Hey guys, I am BlackOpsAmazing. So the other day I did a video on Shadows of Evil. The title for that was the Zombies Map That Changed Everything, where I basically did a review and gave my thoughts as to why I think now that map is one of the best in zombies, and also why I believe that is almost a forgotten map in our zombies timeline. That video got a good response, you guys seem to have enjoyed it, and to be honest I enjoyed going back to play Black Ops 3, so if you want to check that video out I will link it down in the description. But whilst I was doing that, that wasn't the only map I played at the time. I also went to replay one that I think is totally the opposite, which was Revelations. And if I had to think of a title for this video in relations to that map, it would be somewhere along the lines of the weakest map in zombies. This was something that had all the potential, but for the finale, the final map in Black Ops 3 Zombies, the closing of the cycle, the ending of our zombies storyline, you could say, well, Revelations for me, of course this is all in my opinion, but this map didn't do it for me, and if I had to pick one word to describe Revelations, it would be boring. The first official thing we ever saw of this map was the prologue. The day before that we did have the sneak peek, but the Revelations intro cutscene was one of the first proper things we saw, and it actually answered quite a lot of questions that we had for a very long time. You could even say since the beginning. Up until this point we hadn't seen Dr. Maxis. Yes, we saw an image of him in Origins, and then of course he was also in the Maxis drone, but as for him in his full body walking around, Dr. Maxis, this character we had been introduced to all the way back in 2008, Revelations was the first proper time we saw him. It was so cool to see him and Richtofen hug it out in the basement of the house when they finally met back up, having been friends for such a long time. That was kind of an emotional moment. It was also the first time we saw the children in the house, this thing that we'd been building up through the previous BO3 maps, and more importantly it was also the first time we ever saw Dr. Monty. All this time beginning with the Giant, going through to Shadows of Evil, Der Eisendrache, Zetsubo no Shima, we only saw hints of Dr. Monty, whether it was through the Gobblegums or his factory, but we hadn't heard anything from him up until Gorod Korovi, where he spoke to Primus for the first time, but it was only in Revelations, many months later, where he was actually properly revealed, which was cool. And yes, in my opinion, even though he felt like a rushed character, in the final two maps, Gorod and Revelations, all of a sudden he just comes out of nowhere. It was a little bit unexpected, but over the time we've gotten used to it. And then of course it all kicks off when Maxis releases the Shadow Man from the summoning key, and he unleashes hell upon Monty's perfect universe, where it's now, as always, up to Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey to save the world. A few other things that I like with this map was the fact that we had two wonder weapons, albeit ones that we'd had before, which was a little bit of a letdown. We didn't have a new wonder weapon on this map. In fact, a lot of the things we saw in it were reused, which I'm going to come to in a bit. But there were two wonder weapons, one more recent, which was the Apothicon Servant, one of the best, and another which we hadn't seen for a long time and everyone was asking for, that was the Thunder Gun. So it was great to get them. And then of course we also had the special weapons like the Ragnaroks. We were able to finally get our hands on Takeo's katana, a weapon that we've been asking for since basically Origins, or even before that. One of the best things in this map, I believe, were the hats or the helmets. There were plenty of them, whether it was Owl's, the Dire Wolf head, the helmet of Siegfried, the Mogwai head, the Fury head, the Keeper skull. That is just a few of them, each giving you different abilities and perks, from extra health to more damage. And even though we had seen hats previously, this map had so many of them to keep you occupied, which were really fun. And then obviously there were the usual ciphers, wisps, radios, and musical Easter eggs. It seems like there was a lot of content in this map, which there was, but to me, especially looking back on it now, it feels more quantity over quality. Besides from the hats, which I really did like, even with all of that, for some reason, and I can't 100% put my finger on it, but this map, when it came around to playing it, just didn't excite me. And out of all of the maps we've had in zombies, this is probably one of, if not the one that I would want to play the least. And the main reason is because everything in here feels recycled. It feels like I've played it before, it's not new. Even after playing this map 2 or 3, 4 times, it already felt like I'd done this 100 times over, and well, very quickly it just became, well, not fun. This map felt more like a chore. It was too easy, it didn't really give you a challenge. It had all the potential, but at the end of the day, for me, it was just weak. It was a boring map, and I really hate to say it. I believe what Treyarch were trying to go for was nostalgia, being the final map, the ending for Black Ops 3 Zombies, bringing back old things such as the Thunder Gun, or Primus Crew, Maxis, Sophia, and all of the old Zombies maps combined into one. Ones that we hadn't seen for a long time, like Kino der Toten, Verrückt, Mob of the Dead, Nacht der Untoten, Origins, there was bits of Buried, Shangri-La, Der Eisendrache, tiny bits of Zetsubo no Shima. There were a load of old maps in here that should have brought the nostalgia back, and at first they kind of did, especially when I saw the trailer. I thought this is going to be amazing, having all of these maps back. At first I do think I got a little bit of that, but it quickly went away. It quickly felt, again, and I hate to keep saying it, but boring. I do think a lot of that has to do with the fact that not too long after, DLC 5 Zombies Chronicles came, where these maps just ended up being remade anyway, which kind of makes Revelations feel irrelevant. There's really nothing new besides from the spawn area, which is tiny, to this map, so I believe that's also a big reason why a lot of it just feels recycled and not done very well, is because Zombies Chronicles came, it did everything 10 times better and took the nostalgia away from this map, which I think was Treyarch's main focus, instead of adding new things, which I think if they'd have done that, it would have made it 10 times better. With zombies, you've always got to innovate. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. As I've always said, keep the core elements there, like the perk machines, which Black Ops 4 hasn't done, and the characters we love and stuff like that, but you've got to change it up, have a new interesting location each time. Revelations wasn't that. They were going for something totally different on purpose, but it just didn't work. In the starting area, as always, you could go 2 different ways, either left or right, one taking you to Shangri-La, the other taking you to Origins, or you could go to Nacht der Untoten through the portal, but whichever way you went, it all felt the same. The map was basically one big circle. One of my main issues for this map was the Easter egg, which I have to say is one of the worst we've ever had in Zombies. Being the final BO3 Zombies map, it should have been spectacular, right? It should have been interesting, fun to do, but it was totally the opposite. This game at launch was, or this map should I say, was riddled with bugs. There were so many glitches. It was annoying to do. There were steps that simply didn't make sense. Tiny little objects, rocks that you had to find. The Easter egg overall was boring and tedious to do, but when you finally do complete it, you get to the boss battle. Again, it was a total letdown. The whole idea of us fighting the Shadow Man, I think, could have been made a lot better if it was Monty versus the Shadow Man, instead of us having a very one-sided battle with him. He didn't really do anything. He doesn't really move. I think if Monty was involved, him against the Shadow Man, it would have been a lot better, but that wasn't the worst thing for me. What was the ending cutscene. Overall, in my opinion, this is what lets this map down. If you go back, just like I did on my previous video, and take a look at the comments on the ending cutscene, you can see a lot of them are negative. Someone said no matter how the end cutscene went, we would always have been slightly disappointed. Someone else said, and these all have a lot of likes by the way, I think it's fair to say that this ending sucked balls. Another one was, am I one of the only few people that like this ending? Is it me, or did this not close well? I strongly hated that. So you can see a lot of people didn't like it, and at first I was kind of the same, but I was like, okay, this seems very similar to the Origins ending, where I didn't like that either at first, but as time went on, as the next game came out, BO3, and we finally got an understanding as to what the Origins ending meant, when it finally all made sense, it kind of 180'd that. And you know what, it wasn't as bad as we all thought. I thought Revelations was going to be the exact same, so I waited. BO4 came out. So far with Classified and Blood of the Dead, they haven't really added on to the Revelations ending. They haven't told us any more than what we already know, so I'm still left with that sour taste that, yeah, it was quite disappointing. This was supposed to be the big ending, the last map in our zombies storyline, and it finishes and we were all like, huh, okay, so pretty much what happened was what we expected. There really wasn't any major event that took place that we were like, oh my, no, I can't believe that. it was pretty normal. I think we can say the Giant and Shadows of Evil, the Drakers, were definitely more interesting when Richtofen first shot himself for the first time, or when Richtofen came out of the portal to steal the summoning key in Shadows, or when we first saw Dempsey have to kill himself in Draker. Those were all emotional, those were unexpected. Revelations wasn't emotional, it was kind of expected, you could have guessed this. For a final, it just wasn't good. For a lot of people, it was confusing, but it's really simple to explain. Basically, it is just our timeline continuing. The cycle has continued. I think what would have helped if they had, just like the Mob of the Dead one, put the cycle continues right at the end. I think at least that would have made it a little bit better. There was so much potential here, but it just feels, I don't know, the cutscene to me felt rushed. I don't think it's the worst map we've had. Some people hate Zetsuben Oshima, or I don't know, Verrucht, but I definitely think it's one of the weakest, just because what this map should have been. So yeah, I kind of feel like I'm missing something off this video. There's something else I want to say in the back of my mind, which I guess you could say for this map itself. It's just missing something, that spark. But with the few good things that were included in this map, for me there wasn't enough new. I get where they were going, but it just didn't work. Maybe if this was the first map and our expectations weren't as high, it would have been a lot better, but it wasn't. It is what it is, and for me that's my opinion on Revelations. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Of course, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Drop a like rating if you have enjoyed. Could we reach 2,115 likes? 2115. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.